Hello all my stitchy friends, how are you? My name is Sally and I am Flossie Sews and Grows here on YouTube and on Instagram. This is a channel predominantly about cross stitch and I sometimes show a few other things now and again. This is Flosstube number 39 and it is Friday the 2nd of August. We're rapidly getting through the summer, but at least we have some beautiful nice weather now here in the UK. Firstly, I'd like to thank you for coming and watching again. I've had quite a few new subscribers over the last month or so. I think a lot of you came to join me where I showed you my 50 new start, well, 32 of the new starts that I've done this year so far as part of my hashtag Fun for 50 Sal 2024, which I'm doing with my friend Sarah, who is Sew Me Sarah, to celebrate us both turning the big 50. I know neither of us look that old, do we? So lots of you have come and found me through there and left some lovely comments on how much you enjoyed seeing what I'd done so far. So thank you if you subscribed and you're back here again. It's lovely to see you again. It's been almost 2 weeks since I last checked in with you. From my regular Flosstube, which I did about nearly 2 weeks ago. I've done a reasonable amount of stitching. I did actually have one non-stitchy day. Had a hectic day last Friday trying to get to the big stitch, and I didn't stitch at all, not one single stitch, but it was very much a stitchy day. So yeah, I have been away to the Big Stitch retreat, so I'll talk a little bit about that at the end. But really, my update for July, had a really good July. I started July with 17 whips. I had 5 new starts. So that was what, number 30 to number 35. And then I had 3 finishes. And actually, one of those was a fully finish. So I think actually that was fully finished last Friday. So let me put a little picture here. That finish was Emily's Strawberry, which I'd stitched as part of the hashtag Stitch Strawberries for Wimbledon with Mama Loves You GB. That was her hashtag to stitch the first 2 weeks of July, stitching strawberries because Wimbledon was on. And I did actually manage to do a little bit of stitching while Wimbledon was on. But I do think tennis is probably one of the harder sports to watch while you're cross stitching, because do you look at your cross stitching or do you look at the tennis? It's your eyeball tennis, going backwards and forwards. So probably I think when I was watching the tennis, there was a little bit less cross stitching getting done. However, this was my finish of Emily's Strawberry. Now, if you can remember, I had started this, so I stitched it on 36 count fabric, which was from Fabrics by Crafty Kate, and I stitched it with 2 Silks for You that I'd been gifted as part of a exchange for the spring. And I stitched it to celebrate the birthday of Caroline, who is Carolina Evertotes, and she turned 50 in July. So I started it on her birthday. And I didn't say in my when I was telling you that I'd started it that I was going to gift it to her at Big Stitch, just in case it all went wrong, just in case I didn't finish it. And of course, the day that I was supposed to be travelling to the Big Stitch was the day I fully finished it. So I was really, really lucky. I had my friend Whitney here, who is Crafty Whitney on Instagram, and she'd flown over from the States for the Big Stitch, and she'd come, I'd picked her up at Manchester Airport the evening before. So she stayed with me on the Thursday nights. On the Friday morning, I had this mental list of things I needed to do, and Whitney did try to keep me on track. I think there was one thing that I'd forgotten as we were driving out on the way to Big Stitch. I was like, oh my God, I've forgotten. Oh, but it was something that wasn't too drastic. So I managed to finish this with Whitney's help. It was very much, never done a strawberry before. Managed to stuff it. Managed to finish it. But it was doing the top, and it's just, you know, we actually got really quite creative, putting the ribbons on the top and sewing it on, and put a little 50 charm on the top, because Caroline and I have obviously both 50 this year, and I like to think it turned out really, really well. And I did gift it to Caroline at the Big Stitch, and I'll just pop her. Whitney did take a sneaky photo of me in full force chatting with my hands when I gifted it to Caroline, which was really, really lovely. So I was really glad that she'd done that. So I've got a memory. And it was funny, had met Caroline at the hotel the evening before, and yeah, we're very much spirits, hair pals, that we both have similar hair that's kind of similar length but curly, and both know exactly what it's like to have it cut just a little bit too short. So I think on the last video I had a little bit of a, oh, it's just too short, and thank you to everybody who said it did look lovely. It has now just grown just that little bit more, that it just makes it that little bit, it doesn't spring up and give me I think I look like a Springer Spaniel when it curls up, but it's just got that sweet spot 2 weeks on that I'm a bit happier with it. So it was lovely to meet Caroline, and it was lovely to gift her my strawberry. So that was my fully finished item. I'm just going to open the window. It's starting to get a little bit warm in here. There we go. That's better. Hopefully no one will start mowing their lawn, which they were doing as I started the video, hence I had to shut it. So I did have some new starts since I last spoke to you. My first new start was one that Sarah and I had started together, and it's from it's Winter Christmas Ride from Barbara Anna. And let me just grab my trusty board. This I got out of Punch Needle and Primitive Stitcher, the Christmas Winter 2020 issue. Now I had started this, and if you see my Instagram, you will have seen that I did actually start it with the called for threads, and the called for colours for Santa and Mrs. Claus were quite orangey. They were 920, 921 DMC. They're really cool, and I was pulling them out thinking, well, I normally use those on pumpkins, not on Christmas things. So I was a little bit and I stitched Santa's jacket and her jacket, which I've since pulled out. And I then saw Sarah put her start up, and I thought, oh, that looks nicer than mine. Read her Instagram post, and she had substituted those colours because she felt they were a bit autumny. So she went for some reds. So I'd stitched a little bit, and had kind of put it down in a bit of a, oh, I'm not overly happy with it. So when I got home from Big Stitch on Wednesday, I do stitch Barbara Anna normally on a Wednesday night as part of Barbara Anna Wednesdays with my friend Stitchy Sally and a few other lovely ladies who join us. I pulled the orange colours out and restitched some of it with a more red. I think I've used 815. I think I'm thinking about 815 and 817. So a red and then a slightly pinky red. And once I'd done that, I restarted and I got a bit more steam behind me and started with that green. I do need to find a blue. I don't seem to, I've got thousands of blues. There's so many blues behind me, but I just don't happen to have the called for. So I'm just going to find another blue under there to start filling that in. Now, Sarah stitched this in 2 nights. She did a really quick finish on this. I think I'll probably try and get this finished quite quickly as well. I have got another Barbara Anna that I'm working on, light, for my Wednesday evening. So it's not as if I need another Barbara Anna, a new start. So if I get this one finished, it's quite a relatively quick one, I think, to get finished and get that one under my belt. That I can get another finish under my belt because I have now got a few big projects going on, and I have got a few big ones starting as well. So it'd be good to get a finish on that one done. So that was Christmas Ride, and that was one started with Sarah. I also threw in a very last minute quick new start. I think I did tell you about this on my last Flosstube, that this was going to happen. And this is Feast of Friendship by Blackbird Designs. Now, I'd seen the lovely Lisa, who is Lost in Stitches Lisa, had returned after a bit of time off from social media and from Flosstube, returned back to the fold, and this was one that she was going to stitch. And I thought, isn't this a fabulous one? I've got it in my stash. I think I'd planned to do it later in the year. So I just said to Lisa, I'm happy to pull it forward. I'd really like to celebrate that you've come back and you're feeling much better and feeling really positive about life. And let's do a celebration of that. So a celebration of friendship, because I think Lisa had explained how much love and friendship she'd had from the community while she'd been, you know, recovering from being ill and being ill and recovering. And so I just thought this was really, really apt to do as a little kind of welcome back, Lisa, and we missed you and we're glad that you're doing well. So we started this week, and we're using the hashtag for that of Feast of Friendship for Lisa. And I am stitching, I've only made a little small start on this actually. Let me just, because I did have to order some threads. I wanted to get some of the fancy flosses. So I've made a little start here, which is the fruit bowl and the bowl. So a little start, because that was done the day, 2 days after I got back from the Big Stitch. So lots going on. So a little start, but I'm really, really pleased. I'm stitching this, really pleased I've started it and that I've started it with Lisa. I'm stitching on 40 count Cafe au lait. This is what I got. It says it's vintage, or the store I bought it from said it's vintage, but I'm not sure it is. Don't know. I thought the vintage fabrics had a bit of the mottling print on them, but this hasn't. But it's a lovely fabric. I like stitching on Zweigart, so quite happy with that. And I am predominantly using the fancy floss, but I think actually the fruit bowl is the called for DMC that I'm using on that. So those were two of my starts that I had in July. I actually also had a new start yesterday, and I started yesterday this one. So this was start number 36 out of my 50, and this is Shoe, a fancy blacket pattern from Pinebury Lane. Now I had seen this, or I had seen when I met a couple of ladies last year. So I met Kirsty, who's Crafting Kirsty, and Rach, who is Stitchy Rach, at Stitch in London. And I also had been watching Elaine, who is Ellie Welly Stitcher, and certainly they were stitching fancy blackets. And I was like, I like these fancy blackets that they're stitching. I'd like to join in on that. And I'd mentioned it to Elaine. I then met Elaine last Christmas, and I mentioned to her that I was like, oh, I quite like the fancy blackets that you stitch. She said, oh, we'll join in on it on our next one. So I heard Kirsty announce in her latest Flosstube that it was her turn to pick, and this was the one she picked. Now, my lovely friend Alex, who is at Salex Stitches, kindly gifted this chart to me. I'd done a little something for Alex, and she wanted to say thank you. So she sent that to me from, I think, yeah, she organised for Peakside to send that. So that came to me. So here is my start. And so this was started yesterday. It was the 1st of August start with a hashtag of Fancy Blacket Sal 2024. And this is where I've got to so far. So I made quite a good start on this. This is all I stitched on yesterday. Had to be after work. So really love it. So I'm stitching this on the called for fabric, which is really unusual. The called for fabric was Weeks Dye Works beige, which I just happened to have, which I was very pleased about. And I'm predominantly stitching it with the fancy floss. I think I've got all of the fancy floss bar one, but I am going to order that because that's quite a unique colour. And I couldn't buy it at Stitch in London last weekend. Nobody had it. So it's predominantly Weeks Dye Works, and I think a couple of Gentle Arts in there as well. So far so good. I really enjoyed stitching on this last night. It's not a huge pattern. I haven't now got a new start and another new start till the 9th of August. So I think actually I'm going to give this one a really, really good go. Yeah, because it's not huge. I think I could probably get quite a good chunk of that done, that I could get that done for Halloween. So that was start number 3, which was just yesterday. So not done too crazy. Now my whips, so I haven't got too many. I've tried to concentrate on a couple, but then I haven't done as much stitching probably as I would usually do. So whip number 1 is Modern Folk Embroidery, and this is 10 Merry Sailors and Their Loyal Dog. And I did stitch on this the evening that Whitney was here, as Whitney is a huge Jacob fan. She's met Jacob before, so they're actually quite good friends. So I thought it was quite apt to stitch on it while she was here. And I did take it to Big Stitch as well to stitch while Jacob was in the room, but actually I didn't get it out. I will have popped pictures, or I will pop pictures of any of the stitches that I'm going to show you if I've got a picture of where it was last time I showed you, which I think I have for most. I think I've been quite good. So this time round I've definitely come up here. I think I've stitched this chap. I think I might have done that one as well. Can't quite remember. Did I stitch? Have I done the London as well? So not a huge amount of stitching, but I've made some progress. This is one. So we're the beginning of August now. Stitch in London 2024 is the beginning of October, and this wasn't exclusive for Stitch in London 2023, as you can see here. And I will stitch this, and we had this as a pack. So we had it with the Country Vintage Mocha fabric, and I chose 36 count, and then we were gifted with it Great Lakes thread by Roxy Floss Co. So I would like to have this finished, or finish it at Stitch in London this year. I think that might be a stitch finish. Having a retreat finish might actually be quite a good idea. So that is a good plan. So I've still got quite a bit to go on that. I've still got that border, and I've still got the alphabet at the top, and a few more bits of the boat, and the motifs, and the stitch in, and the 2023. So still a bit to go on that. And September is going to be a busy month as well. we're getting more starts for September rapidly. They're rapidly coming along. My next one, I'll pop the picture of this up here, because this was a PDF, and this is Jane Marshall. What year is she? She is Jane Marshall 1857, and this is a Hands Across the Sea. And I chose this sampler. It was my first Hands Across the Sea. I chose it predominantly because of these beautiful, beautiful colours. Absolutely gorgeous. Just absolutely love them. And I did stitch some of this at the Big Stitch as well. Here we are. This is the progress I've made so far. So a few hanging threads. But I did work on some of the side here. I think a couple of the colours in a cross here and here, where I'd left some bits that just needed finish, or just needed a thread across and a thread back. Really pleased with the progress on that one so far. It's just a beautiful sampler. I think what I really liked about it was this band here, and then there's another band below of flowers, which is just so colourful and vibrant. That's what I really loved about it. So that one is slowly coming up. That's really actually quite nice kind of at night TV stitching, and I'm using the called for DMC for this one. It is charted up with I think 2 different types of silk actually, but I'm using the DMC. I'm stitching it on a piece of fabric by Crafty Kate, which was a fabric of the month, just a neutral, which is absolutely perfect for it. Next whip, Artsy Housewife, Coffee and Eggs. Love, love, love this one. And I started this back in February. I think I started it on Valentine's Day actually, and I started it with my lovely friend Lisa, who is on Instagram at mer_rechts_ich_ger_Bastien. Lisa is from Germany, and I was thrilled to see Lisa at the Big Stitch. and Lisa was stitching on it there, and so I knew that she would be. So I took it along as well, and I filled in some of the excuse me, some of the skirt. So actually before I went, I did a lot of the red from this skirt so that I could just go in and fill in the peach and the Kernel Mustard. That's a Roxy Floss, that mustard colour called Kernel Mustard. Went and filled that in, and then I went and did some of the egg. Though I got to a point where I was struggling a little bit, that the light was really, really good in Big Stitch, but I think because I was stitching with white, it just got a little bit, so I stopped, and then I went across and started on her hair. So I got a few stitches in on that one. I've quite a few since you last saw it. Not as much at the Big Stitch as I had hoped, but whoever really does much stitching at a retreat? Not me. Too much chatting. Far too much chatting. So still a lot of stitching to go on that one. It's actually, it doesn't look like a very big chart, but it's quite big. I've still got the rest of the skirt, and then I've got all of this side still to do. So it was lovely to see Lisa's, and she was just about finishing at the Big Stitch, and then she posted either on Sunday night or on Monday morning that she'd finished it that evening. So it did really count as a retreat finish. So well done, Lisa. Final whip. As you can see, not too many this time. And I have to say, this was a little bit of a disappointing amount of stitching. I don't think I'll put the picture up of before, because I don't think it's much different. But Lila Studio Spring Quaker. And I started this back in April to celebrate my friend Alex, who's at Salix Stitches, her birthday. So this was her birthday start. And also stitching this is Caroline, who's at Caroline's Stitch Corner, who was on my table at Big Stitch. And we both stitched on it at one point and said we must have a photo for Alex of the both of us with it, and we didn't get there. So I stitched maybe some of the basket. I think I maybe put in 2 or 3 at a push 4 threads in that basket. Not a huge amount, but got some done, and yeah, that's a big one which will definitely be worked on much more next year when I've got a lot less new starts, and I'll be wanting to work on things to get some finishes. So that was my whips. It leads me into the Big Stitch, because that was, you know, mainly a lot of those projects were all stitched on around or during the Big Stitch. I have to say, what an amazing weekend. What an amazing weekend the Big Stitch was. So the Big Stitch is probably the biggest retreat that we have seen in the UK so far. A lot of our retreats are for 40 to 50 people. Big Stitch in London last year was 70, but this year Maria's reduced it to 55, 56, but over two different weekends instead of one weekend. We don't see the likes of StitchCon and Stitch North that are big numbers. So Big Stitch was born from I think the Floss Friends retreats in the northeast, which Sammy, who's at Little Loops, and Andrea run. And I think for Big Stitch it was a discussion with Caroline and Linda to do something bigger. And boy, did they go bigger, and did they go it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. It was run, it wasn't based in a hotel, which a lot of retreats are. That was probably the only downside for the kind of group I was with. I had Whitney to come over from America, and at times just felt a little bit, just could do with some downtime. The great thing about retreats in a hotel is that you can pop off to your room for half an hour and have a bit of a snooze. That was the only disadvantage, but the venue was absolutely fantastic. It was in a science centre called Magna, which was an old steelworks. So you wouldn't have known that it was a science centre. You could, when we walked out at some point just for some fresh air to put some of our stuff in the car, and suddenly thought, oh gosh, there's all these children here in the cafe, and what have they been doing? And no real kind of knowledge that there were other things going on at the centre, because we were in a different part, and it was a huge, massive room. And I think sometimes us stitchers can be a little bit shy, a little bit introverted. We like being at home stitching on our own, and the thought of being in a room of 200 people for some is quite daunting, and quite I like being in. I like people. I'm not a real extrovert, because I do have my introvert moments, but I'm quite happy to meet new people, but I do at times really struggle with noise. If someone's mowing the lawn outside and the window's open, that really bothers me. Just little things like that, and I do sometimes find retreats can be quite noisy. So 200 people in one room, and the catering staff, and the shops, and the vendors, that could have been but it wasn't. I think because of the vastness of the room and such high ceilings, the noise level, it was incredible. It was incredible. There were obviously people talking, but it really wasn't an issue. It just didn't get a headache, didn't feel that it was too much. Absolutely fantastic. So to Sammy, Andrea, Caroline, Linda, what a spectacular event that you did. We all had an absolutely fantastic time. I didn't stop laughing. I had a fantastic table, and I'll tell you a little bit more about them later. And they did announce at the end on the Sunday afternoon that they're not doing a big stitch next year, but they will do a big stitch in 2026, which just already my name is down. So what happened? What was the so first of all, my kind of big stitch experience started a little bit early, because of course Whitney arrived from America on the Thursday. We had met at Stitch in London and come up with a plan that we would do big stitch together, and boy, I'm so glad that we'd sat together. We weren't on a table together at Stitch in London. We just happened to do a class together and sit next to each other for 20 minutes and came up with this plan in those 20 minutes, and it came off almost to perfection. There was a lost case, but the case arrived in time. It was fine, but it was just absolutely fantastic. It was lovely to spend time with Whitney. It was lovely to show her my home and my stitching here, and she came and sat in my stitchy chair. So it was spectacular. And my other friend Caroline, who is Caroline Stitch Corner, we went and picked her up from Stockport on the way through. She travelled in to Manchester, did a tour in Manchester on Friday morning, and that we then picked her up on the way to Rotherham. So that was fantastic, and really good that obviously she then had a couple of people that she knew. And we did a little visit to the yarn shop. Someone had put on the Big Stitch Facebook page that there was a yarn shop in Rotherham. So I don't knit or crochet, and neither does Whitney. I think she crochets a little bit, but Caroline does. So I said to Caroline, well, we'll take you to this yarn shop, and it was spectacular. I think it was called the Foundry. It was on an industrial estate. We were a little bit, have we come to the right place? But it was wonderful. It was huge, light space, and I know that Sammy from Little Loop Stitching has said that they actually there's a group of them that actually go and cross stitch there. Even though they do sell DMC, they don't have any other cross stitch stuff there, but they are welcome to go and stitch there, which is fantastic because the light in there was great. And the owner wasn't there, but her assistant was there, and she said, oh yeah, we've been quite busy today. We've had quite a few visitors, and we've had this one lady from America who, I think she's been 3 times. We were like, oh, interesting. So anyway, got to our hotel, all checked in, hotel kind of rooms, a little bit of shenanigans, but we sorted that out. And as we sorted that out, Caroline met this lovely lady from America called Kim. Anyway, we kind of welcomed Kim into our fold, and she became part of our little gang for the weekend. Anyway, Kim then said to us, well, I went to this yarn shop today. I've been there 3 times. And we said, we know, we've heard all about it. So that was absolutely fantastic. And it was great, the hotel. We stayed at the Holiday Inn. It was absolutely brilliant. The staff there were fantastic. We had got an issue with Whitney's lost case, and the staff were just brilliant in keeping in touch with us and letting us know when it arrived. You know, they phoned me and messaged me on the Saturday to it arrived. Just couldn't fault them. It was a great hotel. We were really comfortable there, and would definitely recommend staying there if you're going to the Big Stitch, or I think that's where they hold the Floss Friends retreat as well. So and we did quite a few people were staying there. So when we were having dinner, Caroline nipped to reception to ask them a question and came back and went, just so Sherry's round the corner. So I went and hid behind, it was one of those bookshelves with gaps that you can see between. So I went and poked my head through this gap and just kind of, and Sherry was the other side. And just for a second or two, she didn't see me. And then the next thing, she kind of saw me and jumped out of her skin. So we had a hello to Sherry, and she was with Rachel Talking Dog, and Sophie was with them as well. And we bumped into Michelle, Mama Loves You GB, and Christina from Whilst Iris Naps, Caroline and Kerry from Evertotes, and Roxy Floss. We bumped into them in reception. As we were all we were going to dinner, they were all going out for dinner, and yeah, so it was just you know, yeah, no stitching done on the Friday. Oh, and then I had to the Friday night I took the ladies, so obviously 2 Americans and an Austrian, took them to Tesco's, good old Tesco's, to get some snacks for the next day, which was great fun and great. Trying to find pretzels for Kim, we found some in the end, but that was a bit of a struggle. And trying to I was introducing Whitney to pot noodles as well. Anyway, so the next morning we got up bright and early, had breakfast, and headed to the Magna Centre. And it was great. We were quite early in the queue actually, so I think we didn't have it was just so well organised. Kind of got directed through. We picked up our lanyards. If you'd made a pre-order, you picked that up as you got your lanyard, and then we had probably a kind of 5-10 minute wait when we got down this long corridor before they opened the doors. And that was great because behind us was Laura from Cotton and Clay. And so we had a chat. She recognised me, I recognised her. It was lovely. And I'd seen her at Stitch in London, but we hadn't actually met. So it was really nice to kind of meet. And as we went in, we got given a goodie bag, fabulous goodie bag, and with loads and loads of bits in. Now, I'm not going to go through this because I know that Laura's filmed and she's shown that. I know that Kayla and Lauren, who are stitching with my Littlies, they've shown what they had in the goodie bag. So, you know, this will be a really, really, really long video if I show you absolutely everything. So, but we got lots and lots of little bits. Certainly my tin, I got my tin up here already. So there were some lovely bits in there. And Whitney had already got a plan of where we should sit. And she said, right, if there's windows, we go to the window. We want to be around the edge, but quite close, you know, maybe at the front, so we can, because we knew Jacob was going to talk. There was going to be a presentation. Oh yeah, and we'd seen Jacob the night before actually as well, having dinner with Caroline and Linda. So of course, because Whitney knows him, she was able to kind of go in and got an introduction and also a sneak peek of some stitching as well, which I bought the pattern for, so I'll show you that later. So we had this big plan, and of course walked in, and actually there were no windows. It was all kind of draped in you know, black fabric. Oh gosh, you know, oh, what's the light going to be like for stitching? There's no natural light. It was brilliant. The light was amazing. Hard. I didn't use my light all of the time actually. Occasionally I just sneakily, when Kim had hers on, if I was struggling to see a hole, I just occasionally just lean across, and but light was absolutely fantastic. The light was brilliant. So Laura had been behind us with her friend Freya, and I think maybe, I don't know if Shell was with them at that point, but Whitney was determined, you know, she knew where she wanted to sit, so she raced on and got us a table. And actually we were at the front but kind of to the side, and Laura and Freya came and said, oh, can we join you? And we're like, of course you can. And Shell did too. And then so we were a table of 7, And maybe half an hour later, I bumped into Noreen, who I'd met at Stitch in London. She's a really good friend of Sarah's. So it was lovely to see her. And Noreen said, "Have you got any space on your table? Because I'm a little bit late." I was, "Yep, come on over." So she became our 8th. And she only stayed that day. And then later on, Mikael came over and joined us for the evening. And then also he sat with us on Sunday as well. So we kind of had 8/9 of us, which was really, really lovely. So we did have some things in the goodie bag that I am just going to show you, because just a couple of things that needed highlighting, I thought. So first of all, it was this fabulous chart from Lizzie and Deborah, who I think she does her designing with. So they're called the Old Barn Stitching Co. And this is Sunflower Garden, and I thought this was a lovely one. We also had, Mikael had also done some, can't really show you these because they're obviously, but he designs as Star Parade Designs. Go and have a look at his Etsy shop. I'm going to show you something later which is just stunning. But he'd done some freebies for us as well, and freebies that actually, it's got Big Stitch 2024 in the middle on both of them, but I think these are things that you could kind of use the border on the outside and put your own writing in the middle. So I think they're really, really good, useful things to have. Just also wanted this one from, so this is Caroline, who was one of the organisers. She runs Haystack Stitching, and she did a special Big Stitch 2024 octagonal pin keep, and really thrilled with this because actually it's got some Gloriana silk in it, which I've never used, so I'm really looking forward to using that. And then also it's got the fabric and all the finishing bits in it as well, so really can't wait to try that one. Very excited. And then we did actually get a chart from, this wasn't in the goodie bag, but Beth brought these round. So Beth is Be More Creative, and I've been watching Beth for a long time on Flosstube, and she's really fabulous. She's a prolific stitcher with her job. I think she does get some time where she can kind of stitch, and she does every month she does do a free chart on her Flosstube to say thank you for everyone watching. So she did this specifically for the Big Stitch, and it's a shield. And it's great because inside she has got this, so if you're a linen stitcher, you can amend it. So you go in, you put your initials, you can put linen, Ada. Has it got even weave in there as well? It's got even weave in there as well. And then you can put, what size needle you use, what size fabric you stitch on, and you can make your own shield. So I just thought that's an absolutely fantastic creative idea from Beth for a freebie for us all. So she came round and gave those out to all of us. So as I said, I was on fabulous table, fabulous table with Shell, Laura, Freya, Noreen, Mikael, Kim, and Whitney. And I did do a little kind of, this is, can you remember my friend made this for me when she came over from Amsterdam? And so she kindly sent me the pattern. So I made little orc catchers for everybody about 2 days beforehand, leaving it all to the last minute, obviously. But they seem to go down really, really well. And I'd also made some floss drops that I'd given out as well. So everybody gave absolutely beautiful gifts. So Laura is obviously owns, makes everything cotton and clay. So she gave us this beautiful needle minder, which I'm already got on my lamp where I put my needle minders, and I haven't opened this yet, but I think this is either a scissor fob or I can use it on, meant to open this beforehand. Yeah, I think that we use that as a scissor fob. So that's absolutely gorgeous, absolutely beautiful, Laura, thank you so much. Love, love, love. I think I will put that on my gold scissors so it matches. Then Shell, I was quite grateful for these. So we got a little tin box from Shell, which I'll probably use for needles when I go to future retreats, with some bobbins in. And then, do you know what? little pair of scissors. Now, do you know what? I at one point I misplaced my scissors, and I did eventually find them the next, or when I tidied up in the evening when other people had left, so there was a bit less space, a bit more space, sorry, couldn't find them. So actually these came in really useful because when I needed them, they were there. So thank you, Shell. We had from Mikal, we had a Star Parades design. Needle minder. Which again, really useful. I've got 2 places. I store some of mine up here, and I store some of my light, and they tend to be put straight on the light when I finish them. Freya gave us some beautiful floss drops, which I believe these are from cards, from postcards from, she works at the V&A, so these are all prints from cards from the V&A, and she put a lovely variegated DMC with that as well. My lovely friend Caroline, so Caroline Stitch Corner, she made one of these for everybody. So she's just so talented. I hate zips. I really, really hate zips. And inside was some Austrian chocolate. And she said to me, I'd have thought you'd have chosen the purple one. I know that's your favourite colour. And I was like, actually, I like this one because of the little bird. Really, really liked it. Really liked it. I like other colours too. And then her husband had made these floss drops. So they say floss fish, which I think is absolutely fantastic. I've told her that he should make some more. And maybe Etsy. Then Noreen, I loved this little cushion with the big stitch, a 2024 charm. And then I loved this. She did point this out to me and say Flosstube is my favourite show. I thought that was fantastic. So I think I will have this hanging in the background somewhere, on display, probably on there. The lovely Kim. So Kim had come over from the States, and she'd said, oh, I asked a few people what they thought I should bring for table gifts. Not got a lot of time, so thought something perhaps I can buy that you really struggle to get over here in the UK. And someone had said to her, Brenda Gervais charts. So she went out and she bought a big bundle of Brenda Gervais charts. And I was very, very lucky. I ended up with 4. At one point, I think on Saturday evening, Kim said to me, I'd taken Whitney and Caroline back to the hotel. We'd gone via McDonald's to get some food, and then we'd also picked up some food for Laura and Shell and brought it back, and Kim just said, look, there's a couple patterns left there, you know, you must have them. So I wasn't going to argue with her. Kim's not a lady you argue with. So I was really lucky that I ended up with 4 of these Brenda Gervais charts, which I will stitch and I will pass on, so you can all join in with the love. So first of all, every opening flower, and actually I was the first one who I think pretty much got to choose. She also had the Keeper of the Pins booklet and the snowy one, which I've stitched. Not good up there, but the snowballs, it's jingle snowballs, which I'd already stitched. So I know other people kind of went and claimed those, but I managed to get quite quickly. I think I was 2nd or 3rd when it came round, so that was the first one that I picked, which I was really, really pleased with. I got the Dutch tomato pin keeper, which is beautiful, and then Quaker sewing tray, which is gorgeous. And then actually this was one of the charts that was left on Saturday evening that hadn't yet been claimed. And I was really, so my friend Stitchy Sally messaged me and said, oh, I think my friend Mouse, who's Tale of a Stitching Mouse, is at Big Stitch. And I was like, great, she hasn't got her picture on her Instagram. So how am I going to know what she looks like? Well, luckily Mouse came and introduced herself to me and told me who she was, which was great. It was lovely to meet her. But I bumped into her a little bit later. She was waiting to see Lisa, Lisa at Atelier Frames, and she had this stitch with her, which she was waiting to have a look what frame to get for it. And And I thought, I actually, when I saw it stitched up, I thought that is beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. So when Kim said there's a couple of charts left, you have them, I looked and I was like, oh gosh, Mender and Maker, great. I've just seen it and it's fabulous. So I'd love to have that one as well. So I'm really pleased to have that one. So thank you, Kim. That was a fantastic idea that you had to bring those. And I think the whole table was absolutely thrilled to get a Brenda Gervais chart. So thank you. And then finally, my lovely friend Whitney, Whitney said to me, I would like to bring you some DMC from the States because I know, you know, how much cheaper we can get it here. So Whitney bought me, so she gave everybody a bag like this and she put a handful of flosses in there. But actually she said, I'm going to get you 50 for 50. So she got me 50 DMCs, and I think there were maybe 5 or 6 that were duplicates that I already had, because she just picked the colours for me. So absolutely fantastic. And in with my bag as well, she included, she'd got some duplicate charts that she'd bought and then bought them again, or got them a second time. Fine Joy by Yasmin's Made with Love. So we are going to stitch this together next year. And then she'd also got 2 of Hobbit House as well. And I've just seen somebody finish this. Oh, who was I watching? Was it Brenda, Handwork Maniac? And she put a green door on it. And I thought it looked great. So I thought I might do that when I do that. So that's another one that hopefully we will stitch together. And also we all got a bit of ring bling from Whitney. That 2024, I like Big Stitch and I cannot lie. So this is our group, our table name now. We have a little group set up so we can have a chat, because we have got at least one stitch along coming on as a group. So that was my present from Whitney. And then actually Caroline did also buy me a little, I think it's an early birthday present. She made this absolutely fantastic bag. How beautiful is that? How absolutely beautiful. And she's got this beautiful little Caroline labels. Just fabulous. Though she did say it was really hard to make and she'd never make one again. So I was very grateful that I was the one that got it. So I think this is my little thank you as well for picking her up at the train station and getting her to Rotherham. So it's a beautiful little card from her with a little needle minder. And there was some threads in here. So my favourite colours. She knows me well already. Purples, pinks, some gorgeous stalk scissors. And then this is the piece de resistance that she had asked me my favourite colours. And I said pink and purple. And she's dyed me some beautiful, beautiful piece of 36 count linen. How gorgeous is that? Let me show you the other side. Well, let me fold it in half, because I think then you can see it a bit better. The light doesn't shine through. But I think that is showing quite true to colour on the camera. Absolutely thrilled. Absolutely thrilled. And I have got an idea. I might stitch a Jacob, something Jacoby on that. So thank you, Caroline. Absolutely just gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. I did also get some other little gifts from other people at the retreat. Caroline from Evertotes to say thank you for her little present. I think she had a few gifts from people over the weekend, and anyone that gave her a little gift or sent a little message, she gifted a Roxy Floss coat too, which is called Sweetheart. So thrilled with that. And let go with that pink fabric. Maybe I'm going to put them together and see if might be a plan. And then Hazel. Well, Hazel, if you've been Hazeled, if you've met Hazel, you will, yes. So I first met Hazel at Stitch in London last year, and I've subsequently met up with her with our mutual friend Roz, and she doesn't live hugely far away from me, and she'd asked if I could help get her to stitch into the Big Stitch, and I was happy for her husband to bring her to my house, but actually I had a friend Charlotte, who lived quite close, and Charlotte facilitated getting Hazel to the Big Stitch. So it was lovely to see Hazel, and as Hazel does, she walked around the room and gifted everything that she's made over the last couple of months to friends. So little Ort, and then I think I've got my little frog. The little frog's up there already. So to go with my little frog, she made a little lady. So quite a few of us got these little ladies with, you know, amazing detail, absolutely amazing detail. You know, the hair on there and everything. Just, you know, Hazel, you're amazing. And she's just had, I know she's just had cataracts removed out of her eyes, yet she's still managing to stitch such beautiful things. So thank you, Hazel. And that wasn't all. Little which I got one up here that I take to Stitchy Days and Retreat Days already from Hazel. So that's another little one, which is really handy. And then this, have to say, this was one of the most useful things of the weekend. So when you go to a Stitchy retreat, if you sit with all the foreigners who are either flying home or people from far, far away who are going home on the train, and you're the only one that's actually driving home, quite often they go, oh, we've got these sweeties and these biscuits. We don't want to take them. Oh, you're driving, you take them. Needed a bag for all the chocolates. My family were very happy when I got home that I'd come home with donated chocolates, because I have to say the food at the Big Stitch was absolutely fantastic. In the morning when we arrived, we'd had a hotel breakfast, so we didn't actually really need anything. But there was fruit platters laid out, and there were pastries, and they didn't take the pastries away. You know, they were there for the morning and topped up. So kind of actually by 11 o'clock, actually needed a pastry and coffee. So that was great. And the lunch was a warm, you know, hot and a cold finger buffet. Absolutely brilliant. I think, you know, there's times when you think, oh gosh, if I get there late or I get there last, there's not going to be much left. There was a mass of food. You just did not have to worry about going hungry. There was a permanent tea and coffee stand and water and juice stand, and you know, there was never a shortage of anything. The water was hot, so you could make a decent cup of tea, decent cup of Yorkshire tea, and yes, it was fantastic. So Hazel gifted me this bag on the second day, and it came in very useful because the food had been that good at the retreat that we didn't really eat many of the snacks on the table, so I was able to fill it up and bring it home. So one of the real highlights of the retreat was that there was a guest speaker. In fact, there were two guest speakers. So first of all, we had Jacob, who on the Saturday gave us a talk about samplers, and predominantly Dutch samplers, and you know, what he likes to design, and some of the history, which was absolutely fascinating. We also had a talk from, I can't remember which day that was on, whether that was on the Saturday afternoon or whether that was on the Sunday, all kind of blurs into one. A lady called Tony Buckley, who specialises, she was local to the area, she specialises in black work, and she'd got a really interesting, fascinating project that she's doing as part of her PhD, and she told us all about that and some of the history. And I think later this year the project that she's doing is being displayed at the V&A, and yep, that was her. So re-embroidering black work and unstitched coif and other works. So I think this is a leaflet for it at the Highgate Literary and Scientific Institute in London in August, but I've got a feeling it is also going to be at, I think she said it was also going to be at the V&A, but that is the leaflet there. And there's a possibility, I guess, if you paused and took a photo of that QR code, that you might be able to find some more information about that. But that was a really interesting talk. I'm not a big lover of backstitch, I have to admit, so black work has never really appealed to me, but my mum has done quite a lot of backstitch, and I'm not going to do a stitch by mum today because I think I'm going to be talking for far too long anyway. But at some point I will show you some of mum's black work. So on the Sunday we also had a talk from Jacob on how to stitch an open hem, so how to do hem stitch, and he gave us instructions, which was absolutely fantastic, because I kind of felt on the Sunday, felt quite weary on Sunday morning. I don't know if I felt a bit hungover, yet I hadn't had a drop of alcohol, but I think it was probably all the adrenaline from Whitney arriving on Thursday, getting Caroline on Friday, getting to the hotel and meeting everybody, and then the retreat on the Saturday, going back on the Sunday. I think I was pretty exhausted, so I felt a bit, so I just actually sat and listened, and Whitney said, come on, we'll start it. And I was like, no, I don't want to. Anyway, she made me. Well, she didn't make me. I said, okay, let's start it. And because she'd done it before, so I was able to, kind of start it with her. And I thought, at least then I know what I'm doing. So we had the booklet on how to do it, and then Jacob brought round a piece of linen for everybody, and he brought round some threads, so in some quite bright colours, so you could see what you were doing, because actually Whitney started doing it, and because she'd done it before, she did it in a DMC that was the same colour as the fabric, which is what you would normally do so that it's not visible, but I did it in bright pink. So made a start with that, and the booklet is really, really useful, and I'm hoping that will be enough. But actually Jacob had done a video which I think we're being sent, and also Whitney will do a Zoom with me to finish it off because she's such a good friend. So that was really, really interesting. And then Jacob also did a talk about how to stitch Frisian letters, which was very interesting, was really, really interesting. And so actually Whitney's linen that she'd used when she'd done this before with Jacob, I think at Jacob Palooza, she had a bigger piece of fabric, and she'd actually done her Frisian letters with a W and an S for her first name and surname, and I think I do have a picture of her S, which I will show you, because it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. So those were really interesting talks from Jacob, and they just really did make the event, really. It was fantastic. So what else? Well, haul. There's just a little matter of haul, and actually I have to say it wasn't actually too bad. I had the week before, or 2 weeks before, I had actually ordered some threads. Rachel at Talking Dog Stitcher has just started stocking Gentle Arts, and I was in the process of kitting up for Cinnamon Stars and Away We Ride, which are charts that I'm starting. 26th of August, Cinnamon Stars, and the 1st of September, Away We Ride. And actually, Feast of Friendship had quite a few of the colours that Cinnamon Stars needed, so I did actually order quite a few threads from Rachel before the Big Stitch, which arrived before, and they have now been squirreled off and put into those projects. And I did also order a chart, which I think I will show you in the next few days possibly, which might be a birthday start. So it's just a little plan maybe of how I might talk to you about that one. So, and I did also do a couple of pre-orders. So my first pre-order was some XU Designs fabric, which I was very excited about. So I ordered some 36 count. So this is brick powder. This is a beautiful, gorgeous pale. So I've got a fat quarter of this, pale pink, absolutely beautiful. Not sure what I'm going to stitch on it. Oh, it smells so nice as well. It smells beautiful. And then I got a fat quarter of Grandpa's sleeve. Now I think on the last video I called this Grandpa's slipper, and I did put a correction, but I know that Lauren at Flossabilities might not have seen the correction, because she told me she was off looking for Grandpa's slipper, and when she put it into Google all she came up with was lots of old slippers, Grandpa's slippers. So there we go, it's Grandpa's sleeve. And this, so I bought a fat quarter of this as well. Absolutely gorgeous. So I'm definitely using some of this for Away We Ride, which I'm starting on the 1st of September with Lauren from Flosstabilities and Sherry from Sew Me Sherry, Rachel from Talking Dog Stitcher, and I know a few other people have messaged as well and said that they are going to start that with us. And then there was also a thread in there from XG Designs to say thank you for ordering, which was lovely. So that was a pre-order. I did also do a pre-order of a Jacob pattern, which is this one. So this is Big Stitch Big Tree Rotherham 2024. So this is an exclusive, and quite a few people have already started stitching this. I haven't yet because I'm still doing my 50. So but I know Laura from Cotton and Clay, I saw her new start of this earlier. I was watching her Flosstube and she's doing it in all different colours and it looks fantastic. The Brom from Mad Morty and the Brom, he was stitching on the day and he was doing it on 6 count. So that was absolutely fantastic. Loved it. Whitney started it as well, and you can see here I've put a picture of Whitney with Jacob and the Brom, and you can see Whitney I think was stitching it on either 36 or 40 count, and the Brom on his 6 counts. You can see the difference. So that was really good fun. I think we all enjoyed seeing those. I did buy a number of cottage garden threads from Rachel at Talking Dog Stitcher, and a few of them have gone off on their travels to various different places, but I bought these 3 for myself. My favourite colours, pinks and purples. Nothing in mind to stitch these with, just I liked them, so they will at some point, I'm sure. That was it. Yes, that also I think was a thought with this fabric from Caroline, that actually something monochrome with that might look really good. So yeah, lovely to be able to buy cottage garden threads easily in this country. My next, so also from Talking Dog Stitcher, I've had my eye on this for a while, the nautical pillow, because I do have a bathroom, a seaside kind of shells, etc themed bathroom. So I saw this in the flesh and thought, yes, I've got to get that. So that is the nautical pillow from Flosstabilities, which I got at Talking Dog Stitcher. I also bought, now I've had my eye on this for quite a while, and actually I did see, I didn't think about writing it down, was it Crazy Cross Stitch has started stitching this, and it's from Sammy at Little Loops, the Old Barn Stitching Company at Spring on Lock Lane, and I've admired this for quite a while, so I thought this was the time to buy it. And actually the lady, was it Donna who's stitching it, said, oh, and it's beautiful in the cottage garden threads. And I was like, oh gosh, I didn't realise it was cottage garden threads. I could have bought those at Big Stitch, but actually the pink that's in there of that flower, that is one, that's Vintage Rose, so I've already got it. So, that's a relief that I've got one of them at least. And then the other one I bought from Old Barn Stitching Company, or Stitching Co, was this one, Tulip House 1819. I just loved that. I thought it was beautiful. So purchased that, and I believe these stands you can get on Etsy. There's a gentleman that makes those and sells those on Etsy. What else? Primitive Hair was there. So there were, I think there were 12, 14 vendors. There were quite a few vendors. So a few designers. Jacob had a table. So Primitive Hair, Manny Donna. Then Rachel was there, Talking Dog Stitcher, Zarina and Robert were there with Hawkins Hobbies. There was just such a vast array of vendors, and I saw this one from Primitive Hair and I just couldn't resist. So it's not hoarding if it's cross stitch. Someone please tell my other half that. He is sitting here, but he's got his earphones in, and I think he knows I'm talking about him, but doesn't quite know what I'm saying. Anyway, there we go. Then Linda, who she runs the Sampler Guild, she had a big box of old charts that she was selling. Bargain, £3 for an old plum tree. Love this. It's Miss Lucian's School for Girls lesson 1, and it says trick or treat, stitches neat, or prickly and needles stick your feet. Loved that. Can you see it with the glare? And I also bought another Halloween chart from Plum Street. So they're both older ones. They've got the photo one. Also bought another one, but Whitney really loved it, so I gifted it to her. And then almost there. So this was the chart that when we were at the hotel on Friday night, we went and said hi to Jacob. We'd finished dinner and he was just finishing dinner. He actually showed us his progress on this. So he was model stitching it, and this is Balderquin Birdies, and this is going to be the 2025 Modern Folk Embroidery Stitch Along. So I couldn't resist buying it, and he's even signed it for me, so which was fantastic. And love this, and we've had lots of discussions about it. Certainly Whitney and I on the Saturday night when we were back in our hotel room, we were like, oh, should we do it in one colour? And then Whitney's idea of stitching different things in another colour or in different colours. And so I think, you know, the stitch along for this will start in January, and there's lots of ideas. I think there'll be a few Zoom calls between here and the States on discussing what we're going to do with this. And we are going to see each other at Stitch in London as well in October again. So hopefully by then we will come up with a plan. But one last bit of haul to talk to you about, and this is to show you. This is from Star Parade Designs, and this is Mikael, who came and sat on our table and started showing us some of his stitching. And well, our table went a little bit quackers. We really did. We just fell in love with this. All of us, the whole table, fell in love with this. So this is a pattern that Mikael's designed, which is called Quacker. He wanted to do a Quaker, and he ended up doing a Quacker. So that's the pattern, and I've just got a little picture here of Mikael holding his model for this. And yeah, the whole table just fell in love with it, and we were like, right, let's do a stitch along. But we can't call it a stitch along, we've got to call it a quack along. So we all went a bit mad, and Fiona and Lizzie, so Mrs. Fisher Stitches Lizzie, was sat on the next table, and one of their friends, they all came running over, and they were like, we want to see, and they were like, oh, we love that too, can we join in? So we had a little bit of a kind of crazy half hour of everyone down getting this off Etsy. So if you want to join us, it's Star Parade Designs on Etsy. I was lucky Mikael had a hard copy, so I managed to buy a hard copy because I quite like stitching from paper. And yeah, so we have decided, so we're going to start this at the beginning of September. I think we said the 2nd of September, and we were madly looking for dates that had some kind of connotation to ducks. And I think Kim found out that in Cincinnati they do a duck race on the 2nd of September. So I think that's a good enough excuse. That's a good enough reason for us to go with that for a start date. And I've kind of come home and wrapped my brain. I've got a lovely aqua colour fabric. This is Zweigart. I've got a lovely fabric from a Fabric of the Month by Kate. And I'm thinking I could use either of these and stitch with a dark kind of blue variegated thread. So I cannot wait for our quack along. So if you'd like to join us, it'll be beginning of September. I know that Laura at Cotton and Clay has already talked about it, and I'm no doubt Caroline at Caroline Stitch Corner will give a bit more detail as well. But we will all at some point, I think, on our Instagrams give you a little bit more detail about a start date. But in the meantime, if you'd like to go and get the pattern to join in with us, it's Star Parade Designs on Etsy. And just look at it, look at this little duck down here. And then I just love, there's a little lobster here and the little fish, and then the geese flying. It's just wonderful. Just, Mikael, you're so creative, so creative. And he also had these beautiful autumn, winter, spring, summer pictures, which had you could put the so it had the seasons. That's it, the seasons. And then in plastic canvas you could stitch the months and the numbers and put magnets on the back so they're interchangeable. if I've got some pictures, I will pop some up here, because I know that Kim absolutely fell in love with those, and Mikhail was model stitching one of them while he was at Big Stitch, so that's where we saw it and kind of went, right, we want to see everything, we want to see all of your designs, which he was very good and showed us all of his stuff. So yeah, we're really excited about our quack along. We hope you would join us in that. So I think, big deep breath, I think I'm going to leave it there. I'm not showing you a Stitch by Mum today, not enough time. I'm not going to talk too much about my plans. I think my plans for August I talked to you about in my last video, and in the middle of the month I'll come and talk to you about September, but I might also come and talk to you at another point about my birthday start and maybe a few other important starts for the rest of the year. I've started, so Fancy Blacket, that was start number 36 of my 50. So I've only got 14 left. I've only got 14 left. Yeah, I've gone and bought all these new charts, and I've got all these Brenda Gervais beautiful charts. I'm like, I could quite easily go over 50. However, I do want to get things stitched, and I'm desperate, absolutely desperate to get some things fully finished and on the wall as well. I'm quite ashamed that I've got a big box next to me of things that are sat there waiting. I've got lots of Halloween things in there, so you know, I think my daughter tomorrow is going on scout camp for a week. She's going to the Lake District. She's so excited. She's just been looking through the handbook of what she's going to be doing, and she was on my computer, my work computer in the other room. She was like, oh, this sounds good. Oh, this sounds good. So lots of lots of squeals of joy. So I think she's going to have an absolutely fantastic week, but it just give me a little bit of downtime where I'm not thinking, no, I need to do something and need to be with her and spend some time with her to get her off her phone. So hopefully we'll just get a little bit of time that I can perhaps do a little bit of fully finishing things off. And yeah, got quite a few Halloween things, and I've got quite a few Christmassy things as well. So I'd love to have those ready to display for Halloween and display at Christmas. So lots of things going on, lots of stitching. It's beautiful here in Wales now. You know, with that window open, you can see kind of things have been blowing slightly as I've been trying to hold things down and stop them from blowing away, and the curtain here from blowing too much. But thank you for listening. It's been a long one today. There's been lots to tell you about. I hope you've enjoyed it, and yeah, I'll be back in about 2 weeks, I'm sure. My usual kind of schedule, and all it leaves me to say is happy stitching. See you soon, everyone. Bye.